I am Yonga, and currently I am an FPV operator in the Rubish Brigade. My teenage years coincided with the beginning of the full-scale war. And I had the thought that I definitely don't want to sit at home and wait for something to come flying to my house. In my opinion, the best parts are when there are a few free minutes still in the evening somewhere. You can sit down, drink a Monster, some energy drink, and wait for a juicy target. And hunt for the prey, so to speak. Actually, the most memorable are the hits on lone targets where you can clearly see their silhouettes, their faces, and so on. But of course, some equipment, mortars, and so on, well, that's somehow more prestigious, let's say, and a juicier target. But the strikes on infantry, direct ones, are still memorable. Just recently there was a situation where they hit a shelter of personnel. It was a small house, and it turned out that there was an ammunition depot there. And because of this, everything detonated, and 2 neighboring houses just burned down. Hello. Right now, I am at the dugout, at the position, carrying out enemy attacks, and waiting just for you. So subscribe and join the Lab Brigade. The schedule for going to positions is very varied, because sometimes we can go for 3 days, sometimes for a week. So there is no specific work schedule, as is the case for everyone in the war. For example, in the summer, there was a practice where we stayed for 2 weeks. And I can't say that it was particularly bad. The most uncomfortable moment was, of course, wanting to take a shower. In the summer, I usually went to a little grove, undressed, washed myself, and simultaneously prayed that no one would come near me. But in the winter, it's very cold, unpleasant, and we remain dirty. However, when you finally return, the first thing you do is wash off all that dirt. And you bring yourself back to your senses. I believe that, in principle, every soldier has the desire to be well groomed when not on the front lines. A manicure, a nice manicure, adds 100 points to the speed of trench company. As for sleep, it varies. We divide the night into shifts of 2 hours each. But, of course, you might, for example, go to sleep, and in 10 minutes you have to be combat ready, because there's already a situation when you need to be on your feet. Well, of course, I also wash everyone's clothes. We order sushi delivery to the positions. They deliver it right to the spot. Well, initially, of course, the attitude was still like towards a child. Of course, no one expected anything serious. But, well, after some combat missions, after demonstrating work, quality work, the attitude changed to that of a full-fledged crew member. I, for example, can't lift the same weight as they can. And that's absolutely normal, because they understand where we are and see that I, in principle, work a couple of meters away from them. Also a military person, but in some little shop. He saw me in uniform, and there was a public complaint about where they find such people for the army. Why and for what purpose? But at that moment, I was with my comrades, who quickly explained to him that I was coming from the positions and doing my job. And there's a saying that the further from the front, the more of a patriot one becomes. And here I experienced this firsthand, because indeed, when I am at the positions, there are no complaints about my work, nor about my gender, but some complaints I always hear only from people who are somewhere in peaceful places and, as usual, have nothing to do with combat actions. In principle, of course, when people without rotation see a woman, but I don't think it's any serious attitude. It's more like jokes, which need to be stopped in time, so they don't go further. in principle, sometimes I can respond a bit sharply and it all stops very quickly. I believe that I am a good pilot and perfect for this unit. I hadn't killed people before. I haven't had moments when I deeply regretted joining the military. But of course, like everyone, when you are very tired, sleep poorly, and something, for example, doesn't work out, I start to get frustrated. Primarily at myself. But I believe that this is completely normal, it happens to everyone. And I do not regret my choice at all. And I do not regret signing the contract at 18 years old. I have only become more disciplined and improved the quality of my work over all this time, where this kind of white monster overwhelms anyone. Well, honestly, and a Snickers, I enjoy my work, so I do not regret that my best years, my youth, fall on such a place, such a time, and such work. The hardest part, I believe, is not being able to see your family, your loved ones, and not being able to leave the combat zone to go somewhere. And you very rarely see any of your loved ones. The family, of course, is not thrilled with my decision because they care about me a lot and are very worried that I'm in the combat zone. But they still understand this, especially since I was independent, even before adulthood. I already had an income, some kind, and was not dependent on my parents at all. So they, in principle, and they didn't have the opportunity to somehow dissuade me from this. After the war ends, I still plan to stay in the military. I have chosen a military career for myself as a life plan for the future. And currently, I have already signed my second contract, so I am here until the end. I want dice and Browning, and I don't know. I can't say that I will celebrate March 8th in any special way. It won't be quite relevant at the moment, but of course, some pleasant moments, you expect them, because every year on this day, I got used to receiving some flowers, and for every girl it will be nice. It's one thing when you're on the front lines, when you still have to destroy the enemy. And another thing when you return, you wash off from that and you are just as much a civilian as others. And you also want to do your nails, lashes, and feel feminine. Because first and foremost, here I am a warrior, but after all, I am a girl. I don't have a sharply negative attitude towards draft dodgers, but I still believe that their help on the front would be more important. At the moment, there will come a time when there will be nowhere to run, and that's why their help would be more appropriate now to avoid delaying the moment when the enemy reaches their homes. You shouldn't wait for that. And people are always afraid when they transition from civilian life that they will immediately be thrown into the infantry, assaults, that it will happen right away to death. But a lot in the army, also depends on various rear positions which currently have no one to fill them. And of course, in every unit, especially in ours, they look at what you were doing in civilian life, what you did before the war, what you are better at doing. And, for example, if you are a skilled programmer, you won't be thrown into the infantry, unless you wish to do so yourself. There won't be any biased attitude, because right now, we are truly waiting for people who genuinely want to do the work